Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to when you've hit a wall, when you're sorting through all that frustration, maybe even a stack of research, trying to figure something out. And today, wow, we are tackling what might just be the most universally draining relationship challenge there is. That feeling, that deep, sometimes really painful desire for someone you care about. Could be your partner, a friend, parent, kid, roommate, anyone to change. Not for you, but, for them, for their own good.
Yeah, we all have that person, don't we? And
Yeah.
that habit or that path they're on. Something self-destructive, maybe. And you just wish desperately they'd stop.
Exactly. Which leads to the question we get constantly, probably the biggest one. How do I motivate someone else to change? You see it happening, their career stalling, or they're always negative, or maybe finances are a mess, or, serious health stuff.
Right. And you just can't understand why they don't see it, why they can't just muster the energy to fix it. We want them to get that better job, finally stick to a budget, maybe drop those views that push people away.
Or sometimes, honestly, it's simpler. Just pick up their own darn dishes.
Yes.
I've absolutely been there, and I bet you, listening right now, you've been there too. Thinking, why? Why can't they just do this thing I'm asking? It seems so obvious. The fix looks so simple from the outside, but the tension.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the tension that builds up when you try and force it, it just sucks the life out of you. It becomes this huge elephant in the room, poisoning everything.
And that brings us right to the core of it. The scientific reality we really have to face here, based on decades of research in psychology, neuroscience,
Yeah.
you actually cannot motivate someone else.
Oof, that's a tough pill to swallow.
It really is. It feels wrong, almost. Because you mean well. But trying to force it, it's just an exercise in futility. People only change, like really change, lasting change, when they feel the genuine desire inside themselves.
So all my good reasons, how right I am, how clear the consequences are, none of that matters.
Nope. Doesn't matter how valid your points are, how perfectly you lay out the argument, or how truly terrible the long-term outcome looks if they don't change. The second you apply pressure, even if it's wrapped in loving concern.
Which it usually is.
Right. Even then, you activate resistance. Pressure doesn't get you positive change. It gets you tension, resentment, distance. It actually damages the relationship.
So pushing makes them push back.
Automatically. It's like a reflex.
Yeah.
You're pushing against something really fundamental, something hardwired in us. That absolute need to feel like we're in control of our own lives, our own choices.
Okay. So if pressure, which feels like the natural thing to do, is basically designed to fail, according to the science, what's left? What's the alternative?
That's the mission for today. We're going to dig into why this pressure thing blows up in our faces using the actual science. And then we introduce a totally different approach, something called the let them theory.
Let them theory.
Okay, yeah. It's about shifting your energy, getting your peace back, and interestingly, actually creating a better chance for positive change without fighting against basic human nature.
All right, let's ground this, make it super relatable. You mentioned the classic case study, the one we hear variations of all the time, the frustrated partner. Their spouse, usually husband in these examples, needs to get healthier, like seriously healthier, obvious health risks.
Exactly. And it's so potent because the stakes feel incredibly high, sometimes literally life and death. And when the stakes are that high, the attempts to, exert control, they become relentless. The research, the stories we see, they detail this whole catalog of failed attempts. It shows the partner's love, sure, but also a complete misunderstanding of how motivation actually works.
Yeah, you see this progression, right? Starts gentle, asking, pleading maybe, dropping hints about, I don't know, keto or whatever the latest thing is. Then when that goes nowhere, the frustration builds, the emotional exhaustion kicks in. So then you get maybe tears, anger, passive-aggressive stuff.
Oh yeah, the sharp sigh when he orders dessert.
Exactly. Or the eye roll when he grabs the remote instead of his sneakers.
And then comes the investment stage.
Yeah.
The actual, money and effort poured into trying to force it, trying to remove every possible barrier.
Right. Buying the gym membership he never asked for and probably won't use, getting the brand new running shoes.
Or the big one, splurging on the fancy exercise bike, the Peloton. That ends up being a very expensive coat rack in the corner.
Yep. A monument to the frustration.
Let's not forget the loving gesture of cooking those super healthy, maybe kind of bland dinners every night.
Right.
Which in that whole atmosphere of judgment probably doesn't feel like care at all.
Yeah.
It feels like mandatory, tasteless punishment.
So after all that effort, all that money, all that emotional energy, what's the result?
Gridlock. Just this painful, stuck situation. She's furious, right? probably thinking he just doesn't love me enough to do this, or doesn't he care about being around for the kids?
And him.
Annoyed, defensive,
No.
feeling constantly judged. Like every single thing he does, from waking up to going to sleep, is being scrutinized through this one lens. Is he meeting her goal for him?
But it's often not that simple, is it? The research points out he has tried.
That's a key point. He's not just sitting there completely oblivious or defiant necessarily. He's probably started diets, Monday morning motivation.
Only to crash by Wednesday afternoon.
Right. Or he hit the gym hard for a few weeks in January, New Year's resolution, but then it fizzled. This shows there is an internal struggle happening he likely knows on some level.
But the external pressure.
It just creates this permanent standoff. It escalates things. And the main conflict stops being about his health, really. It becomes a battle over who's in charge, who gets to call the shots about his life.
So it's not that she wants him to be healthy that's the problem. It's how she's going about it. The pressure is actually poisoning the relationship and, ironically, making the change less likely.
Exactly. If your approach, no matter how good your intentions are, consistently leads to resentment, distance, and more resistance, well, the approach is broken. It needs a total rethink.
It helps, I think, to flip it around. Think about the last time someone was really pressuring you about something. Maybe a boss hinting very strongly about taking some night class you had zero interest in.
Or a relative constantly picking at your spending habits.
Yeah, or that friend who just won't stop giving you unsolicited dating advice. That feeling you get, that instant sense of, hey, back off, you don't know me. That feeling that they think they know better than you do about your own life.
Your defenses go right up.
Immediately, it's like this hardwired reflex. You just stiffen up and want to push back, even if maybe deep down, a tiny part of you thinks they might have a point.
And that really exposes what we call the illusion of ease. When we look at someone else's issue, it often looks so simple, so linear.
Totally. We think, why can't they just update their resume? Why can't they just put the phone down for an hour? We assume it should be easy for them.
We tell ourselves, just tell them how much better they'll feel after a workout, or remind them that sitting on the couch isn't going to get them that promotion. As if they haven't thought of that.
Yeah, we completely forget or maybe ignore how psychologically and physically hard change actually is for every single one of us. It's almost arrogant, isn't it? To assume that just pointing out the obvious should be enough to override years of habits or genuine fears they might have.
It really is. And this is where the empathy has to come in. You have to realize the person you're pressuring, they already feel pressure, loads of it,
Yeah.
from themselves.
Right. The husband knows he should probably lose weight. He lives with the self-criticism, the feeling tired, maybe the fear about his future health. He's not clueless.
But he also knows the work involved feels, well, painful.
Yeah.
Giving up immediate comforts, getting up early when he's tired, facing the possibility of failing, maybe publicly at the gym. It's daunting.
If it were fun and easy, they'd already be doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the most loving thing you can do, acknowledge that internal struggle they're already having. Stop adding your pressure on top of it. And the most effective thing, accept the reality of where they are right now and just let them be.
Okay, let them be. That's the core of this theory, isn't it? But to really make that work, to not have it feel like giving up, we need to understand the why behind the failure of pressure.
Precisely. To use the let them theory effectively, we can't just rely on anecdotes and frustration. We need the science. We need to understand the foundation of resistance. Why does our brain react this way?
Because that anecdotal pain is definitely real. Let's get into what the researchers, the neuroscientists, are saying happens under the hood. This isn't just bad luck or someone being stubborn, it's biology.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's start with truth number one. Motivation must be internal.
Okay.
When psychologists talk about motivation, the definition is actually pretty simple. It just means you feel like doing something.
Feel like it. Okay.
So when our friend in the story feels frustrated that her husband lacks motivation, what she really means is he doesn't feel like exercising. Right now, in this moment, the feeling isn't there.
And you can't just install that feeling in someone else, like it's software.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't, especially for complex adult behaviors,
Right.
health, career stuff, relationships. The drive has to come from within. It has to be intrinsic. External stuff, extrinsic motivation, like dangling a carrot or waving a stick.
Like the new sneakers or the threat of leaving.
Right. That might get a brief reaction, a temporary shift.
Yeah.
But it never lasts. As soon as you remove that external reward or threat, the behavior usually snaps right back. You simply cannot outsource the feeling of wanting to change.
Okay, I have to jump in here, though. What about tough love? Isn't there a time and place for that? We're often told, sometimes you have to be the bad guy, you have to draw a line in the sand, force them to face reality, especially if the consequences are really serious, like life-threatening serious. Isn't pushing then like a moral duty?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
And the science gives us a pretty clear, maybe uncomfortable answer. No, it's still not effective. Precisely because it triggers all the resistance mechanisms we're talking about.
Ah.
If you could magically beam your feeling of urgency or desire into their head, well, that wouldn't be motivation, would it? That'd be mind control.
Good point.
Tough love. When it's based on external pressure, threats, ultimatums, it's really a mechanism of control. And it backfires because it ignores their fundamental need for agency, for ownership. The only way intrinsic motivation builds is when they connect with the consequences themselves, on their own terms. Our job is to find ways to let that happen, not force it.
Okay. That clarifies truth #1. Internal motivation is key. What's truth #2? You mentioned brain wiring.
Yes. Truth #2. The pleasure principle and immediate gratification. This is straight up neuroscience. Our brains are fundamentally wired through evolution to move towards things that feel good right now, in this very moment, and to move away from things that feel hard, painful, or effortful, also right now. Our motivational circuits are constantly trying to conserve energy, find safety, and get that immediate reward. Pressure directly fights this basic wiring.
We looked at Dr. Alok Kanodia, known as Dr. K. He's a psychiatrist, Harvard-trained, specializing in motivation, and he really emphasizes this, doesn't he? That pressure fails because people just don't grasp this circuitry.
Exactly. We assume logic should win. It makes sense to exercise. But the brain doesn't work like that in the moment. It goes for the path of least resistance, the immediate feeling. People will nearly always choose immediate pleasure over a delayed reward, especially if getting that delayed reward means enduring immediate pain or discomfort.
So let's break down that choice again. The couch versus the treadmill. The treadmill promises, what? Better health maybe months from now. Feeling good eventually.
Right, a delayed reward. But the cost, that's immediate and guaranteed. Exhaustion, sore muscles tomorrow, feeling awkward or judged at the gym, the sheer effort of it all.
And let's not minimize that effort. The brain isn't just seeing couch versus treadmill. It's doing this rapid calculation of all the steps, the cumulative pain involved. He has to pull himself away from the comfy couch, the known good feeling. He's got to go upstairs, find the right clothes, maybe they're uncomfortable, fill the water bottle, find the keys, drive there, maybe sit in traffic, walk into the gym, maybe feel self-conscious, find a machine that's free. Then do the actual hard work that guarantees feeling tired and sore.
Compare that whole sequence of immediate micro pains to the couch. What's the immediate situation there?
Easy couch. Soft, comfy right now. Chips taste good, dopamine release right now. TV show game engaging, distracting right now.
The motivational circuitry is practically screaming, stay here, conserve energy, feel good now, it's safe here.
And if you're the partner applying pressure in that moment, what does that add to the calculation?
It just adds another layer of immediate pain, the pain of being nagged, judged, confronted, which ironically makes the couch the escape zone seem even more appealing. It's the quickest way to move away from the immediate pain source, which is the person pressuring him.
Wow, so the pressure actually reinforces the behavior you're trying to stop.
In that moment, yes. Because the fundamental requirement for making that hard choice for sustainable change is that the person have to internally decide, okay, this is going to suck right now, but I'm overriding that feeling. I'm doing it anyway for the future me. You cannot make that leap of self-discipline for them.
Okay, so our pressure increases the immediate pain they want to avoid. Our logical arguments aren't sparking that internal motivation. What about just scaring them? Pointing out the dire consequences. Does that work?
That brings us perfectly to truth #3, the exception bias and tuning out negativity.
The exception bias. Okay.
This is fascinating work, much of it from behavioral neuroscientist Dr. Tali Sharot. She found that we humans have this incredibly powerful, often irrational built-in belief system. We tend to believe that warnings, threats, known risks, they just don't really apply to us.
We think we're special, the exception to the rule.
Exactly. Everyone thinks they're the exception. It's why the person who's overweight and sedentary genuinely believes they won't be the one to have the heart attack. Or the friend constantly vaping thinks they'll somehow dodge the lung damage.
Or the person ignoring all the financial red flags thinks, nah, bankruptcy won't happen to me.
It's incredibly pervasive. And this exception bias is so strong it lets people just shrug off ultimatums. When the partner says, I'm leaving if you don't get serious about your health, The husband's brain doesn't automatically process that as, oh no, definite consequence ahead.
What does it process it as?
It often processes it as, that won't really happen, or she doesn't really mean it, or that applies to other people, not us. The threat gets neutralized before it can trigger any real lasting change in behavior.
Okay, but here's the kicker from Dr. Sherritt's work, the really stunning part for anyone who relies on criticism or negativity. The brain scans.
Yes, the brain scan evidence is incredible. It shows that when someone is being hit with negative information, they don't want to hear criticism, threats, worst-case scenarios, judgmental comments. The parts of the brain that are supposed to be listening and processing that information, they literally just power down.
They turn off.
Effectively, yes.
Yeah.
It's a protective mechanism. The brain is shielding itself from the perceived pain or overload of that negativity. So all this audible sighs filled with contempt, the eye rolls, the passive-aggressive digs, the outright threat.
They're not even landing.
They're literally not registering fully. It's like you're talking, but the input channel is muffled or switched off.
Wow.
You are wasting your breath, your energy, your own peace of mind, trying to hammer them with negativity because their brain is actively filtering you out.
Okay, let's bring this right back to that moment in the living room. Our friend walks in, sees spouse on the couch, happy, eating chips. Stress hits her. She feels out of control, worried. Her amygdala, the brain's threat detector, lights up.
Yep.
And that's when the sigh slips out. That audible sound of disgust or frustration. Ooh, still sitting there.
That sound, that judgment, that contempt, the spouse's brain registers it instantly as psychological pain, a direct attack. He doesn't hear, I'm worried about your health. He hears, she disapproves of me. She's trying to control me. I'm not okay as I am.
And what does the brain do when it feels attacked or pained?
It retreats. It moves away from the source of the pain. So that sigh doesn't make him jump off the couch feeling motivated. It makes him want to burrow deeper into the couch, the safe zone, away from the source of pain, which is his spouse trying to fix him.
This avoidance, this retreat, it leads us right into the core psychological standoff that makes pressure fail every time, doesn't it? The battle over control and agency.
Absolutely central. It stops being about the exercise or the budget,
Yeah.
and it becomes about power.
Dr. Sherritt, and really, behavioral science overall hammers this home. We have a fundamental, non-negotiable, hardwired need to feel in control of our own lives and choices.
It's a survival instinct, deep down. Feeling safe is intrinsically linked to feeling like you have agency, that you get to decide things for yourself. When you push someone, criticize them, tell them what they should do, you are directly threatening that core need.
So even something that seems helpful on the surface, like, hey, I packed you a healthy salad for lunch, or it's such a nice day, why don't you go for a walk?
Even that can land as a threat to their agency. It can feel like, you're implying I wouldn't choose this myself. You're taking away my right to decide what I eat or how I spend my afternoon. You're inadvertently stepping on their sense of autonomy.
And that's when the whole conflict just shifts sideways, right? It stops being about health or finances or whatever the original issue was.
And it morphs into a raw power struggle. Who gets to be in charge in this relationship?
Let's look at the gridlock again through that lens. The husband digs his heels in, ignores the pleas, maybe precisely because inaction is the only way he feels he can maintain control. Complying feels like losing, like admitting she was right and giving up his agency.
Exactly. He preserves his sense of self by resisting her control attempt and her reaction. It's also fueled by a feeling of losing control. His inaction, his health getting worse, it makes her feel unsafe, powerless over a critical part of their shared life, their future.
So she pushes harder, trying to regain control over him to make herself feel more secure about the situation.
And boom, you've got this devastating escalating cycle. The harder she pushes to grab control, the more stubbornly he resists to keep his agency. They're locked in a battle for control, driven by fear on both sides, and the actual issue, his health, his well-being, gets lost in the crossfire.
When what people really want deep down in a relationship isn't that.
Not at all. What we crave is unconditional love, or at least acceptance, kindness, compassion, to be met where we are, flaws and all, not to have a drill sergeant pointing out every failure or hitting us over the head with a Peloton we didn't ask for.
And we have to keep circling back to that internal tension. Most people, the research suggests, do want to be better on some level. They do want to change. That's why they struggle, why they start and stop things.
Yes, the internal desire is usually there, buried somewhere, but the external pressure, it makes the already hard work of change exponentially harder, because now, to succeed, they don't just have to fight the urge for the couch. They also have to overcome the psychological barrier of admitting the nagging person was right all along. essentially handing over control in the process.
So the change has to feel like their idea,
Yeah.
their choice.
Absolutely, 100%. If the husband only goes to the gym to get his wife off his back, it's built on resentment, not real desire. It won't last. The relationship keeps suffering. The external pressure creates this huge wall blocking the path to the internal motivation that might actually be waiting there.
Okay, wow. So pressure fails.
Yeah.
Scientifically, psychologically, relationally, it's stressing us out, it's hurting the relationship, and it's paradoxically making the change less likely by fighting their core wiring. We have to stop. We need a radical pivot. How do we actually do that? How do we make this shift to acceptance real?
Right. The solution starts with consciously deciding to adopt this let them theory.
Yeah.
And it is, make no mistake, a radical act of acceptance. It means stopping the punishment, whether it's overt criticism or subtle sighs and eye rolls, stopping the punishment for them not changing on your schedule.
Stop trying to motivate them.
Exactly. Stop trying to force them to feel like doing something they clearly don't feel like doing right now. It means learning, really learning, how to let adults be adults. Let them be responsible for their own lives, their own choices, and yes, their own consequences.
Okay, but I can hear the immediate pushback, the listener thinking, wait, isn't that just enabling? Don't I get to have standards if I just let them? Won't things get even worse? Won't they just spiral?
That's the number one fear, absolutely. And it's crucial we distinguish acceptance from enabling. Acceptance in this context means letting go of trying to control their behavior, their choices.
Okay.
Enabling is different. Enabling is often about ignoring the negative impact of their choices on you and failing to maintain your own boundaries. Acceptance says, I trust you're an adult who can make your own decisions, even if I think they're bad ones, and you get to live with the results. It does not mean, and I have to passively suffer whatever chaos those decisions create in my life. The let them theory is about ending the power struggle by handing them back their agency over their life. Your boundaries are about your life.
Got it. So it's a conscious choice to disengage from the fight, to meet them where they are right now without judgment about the future outcome.
Yes, and that means embracing some potentially uncomfortable let them scenarios.
Yeah.
Things that might feel really hard if you're used to trying to manage outcomes.
Like what? Give us the list.
Okay, you have to consciously decide. Let them fail at that business venture, if that's the path they choose. Let them keep vaping, even though it worries you sick. Let them stay stuck in that miserable relationship or job if they're not ready to leave.
Let them leave the dishes in the sink overnight.
Yes. Let them be messy, if that's who they are right now. Let them spend their money in ways you think are foolish. Let them play video games all weekend if that's their choice.
Yeah.
And crucially, for our main example, let them sit on the couch. Let them choose not to go to the gym, regardless of the health consequences you foresee.
They have to be allowed to live their own life and feel the direct results, the natural consequences or friction of their own choices, not your imposed ones.
Precisely. Because the huge pivot here, the place where you reclaim your power, is realizing the only behavior you can actually control is your own. That's where your real power lies.
Yeah.
It's not gone. You just need to redirect it inward.
So the very first change isn't about them at all. It's about us.
Yes. The first change you must make is to stop the pressuring behaviors, the nagging, the sighing, the helpful suggestions, the unsolicited gifts, and truly start accepting them as they are right now.
And the immediate win there is.
The fighting stops. That draining, frustrating, completely ineffective battle for control, just the energy you were pouring into that losing battle, it's suddenly yours again. You can reinvest it.
And that acceptance, that dropping the rope in the tug of war, that's actually the first effective step towards potential positive change for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you've just removed the biggest external barrier, the threat to their agency. You're no longer the enemy combatant in the control war. You become a safe harbor again.
Okay, so the theory confirms you can't make them change. But you said earlier we can influence them.
Yes. And this is the crucial distinction. You can't force the change, but you absolutely can inspire them. You can powerfully influence their own desire to change. This is the targeted influence part that can come after you've genuinely established the let them acceptance baseline.
All right, so once we've truly stopped pushing, once we've created that space of acceptance, how do we use our reclaimed energy, our own actions, to influence things? If we can't push, we have to pull, right? What does that actually look like day to day?
Targeted influence is all about creating the right conditions for their own internal motivation to possibly spark and grow. It's about making the desired change look more appealing, less threatening, maybe even immediately pleasurable in small ways. And it's about modeling, not mandating.
Okay, give me an example. Back to the husband and the couch. I've stopped nagging. Now what?
Now you shift the environment in your own behavior. You stop cooking those healthy punishment dinners he clearly resents. You cook food you genuinely enjoy that aligns with your goals, whether it's super healthy or moderately so. Focus on your own plate.
In exercise.
If you want to exercise, you make it look like something you enjoy, something that's low stakes, part of your routine. You don't announce, we should go to the gym. You just say cheerfully, hey, I'm heading out for a walk to listen to my podcast, back in 45.
No pressure, no invitation necessarily.
Exactly. You model the behavior. You let your positive experience be visible. Maybe the consistency or the calm energy you have when you return starts to pique his curiosity. Maybe the silence, the lack of pressure, makes the couch feel a little lonelier. The key is you let his brain start doing the work, connecting dots, without you forcing it.
So we're kind of sneakily using the pleasure principle ourselves. We make the healthy choice look more immediately pleasant, like enjoying a podcast on a walk, compared to the immediate pain of fighting with us.
You got it. And you also remove that other huge barrier, the internal cost of him having to admit defeat or give in to your pressure. Because you remove the pressure entirely. If he does eventually decide, you know what, maybe I'll go for a short walk too, he's not doing it to appease you or shut you up.
He's doing it because he felt like it.
Yes, he maintains his precious agency, his choice. You've basically created this motivational vacuum by removing the conflict. And now his own internal desire, which, remember, was probably always there under the surface, has the space to emerge and fill it.
That shift. Changing the environment, modeling without demanding.
Right.
That feels really different, really powerful. It confirms you don't just have to sit back helplessly and watch things unravel. You just have to stop trying to grab their steering wheel and focus powerfully on driving your own car.
Beautifully put. So let's recap the core science. 3 truths. Motivation has to be internal. Our brains chase immediate pleasure and avoid immediate pain. And we all think we're the exception, tuning out negativity anyway.
And all of that means external pressure, threats, criticism. They always backfire because they trigger that deep, hardwired need for control and agency.
Right. So the real power isn't in controlling them, it's in controlling your response. Choosing radical acceptance to let them, and then channeling your energy into modeling the life you want, creating an environment where their motivation might just decide to show up. You end the gridlock by giving them back the controls to their own life.
And that's the turning point. When you stop being the adversary in their internal struggle, when you remove yourself as that big, annoying external barrier, you create safety.
Yes. And in that safety, the anxiety, the defensiveness can finally quiet down, and maybe, just maybe, their own authentic internal desire to change the struggle that was always there gets the oxygen it needs to surface and take hold. You're giving them permission to choose change for themselves instead of spending all their energy choosing to fight you.
Wow. Okay, so here's the final thought we want to leave you with, something to really chew on. What might happen? What possibilities might open up if, starting today, you consciously truly gave the person you care about the space to fail? If you accepted that sometimes feeling the full, unbuffered consequences of their own choices is the